Did you ever say to yourself, boy, I wish I knew then what I know now? Well, today we're going to go over part two of sharing some things that I've learned over a lifetime that I wish I knew in my 20s. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And we were inspired by an article by a gentleman named Anthony J. Young, 10 Hard Truths You Need to Know to Make the Most of Your Youth. Let's not have youth wasted on the young. Just as a review, let's go over the first 5 that we talked about last time. Regret is always worse than failure. When people die, when people are dying, the thing that they say, what's your biggest regret? It's not the things that they did, it's the things that they didn't do. Don't fail by default. Second, real success comes from adversity and failure. If you want to succeed, you need to fail more often. You learn lessons, you gather experience. How does a mentor know the things that a mentor knows? Because they have experience, because they went and tried something and they failed, and they're trying to help you to skip a step, skip that step of failure, because they tried it, they know it doesn't work, and they want to help you to avoid it, and they give you the reality. But you have to learn some of these lessons yourself. So don't be afraid to go after it. The people that are the biggest success are the ones that failed most often. Taking full ownership of your life. You've got to recognize that where you are in your life, in your situation, is because of the things you've done up to this point. Don't blame somebody else. Don't blame your environment. Don't blame the fact that you don't know this guy or that guy or whatever. Get resourceful, take ownership of your life, and move forward. No one stops you from reading books by people that know, so that you can increase your knowledge of real life. You've had the education in school, now it's time to have some life education. You can't skip a step. And what I mean by that is you've got to get good at something first. Just as one example, when I was coaching basketball, I started off as an assistant coach. I thought to myself, well, here I am, a student, I'm learning. Then I learned a bunch, I became the coach, and now my whole personality changed. I became the coach. If you want to become something, you've got to get good at it first. You can't skip that step. And then once you take that step, and once you acquire the knowledge and the experience, then you're in a position to become that person that you want to become. The 5th thing we talked about was if you can't be happy alone, you can't be happy with others. A lot of people cling to friendships because they don't want to be alone. There's an anxiety. They look at society, they look on the internet, and they see people talking about they accomplish this, they accomplish that, which, to be candid with you, most of the time is embellishment. But you've got to let go of friends or partners that are not putting you in a position to become that person that you want to become. And that brings us to today's lessons. The 6th thing we want to talk about is you are who you surround yourself with. Have we heard this a million times? Surround yourself with people who remind you more of your future than your past. You've got to stop hanging out with people just out of a sense of loyalty, because you're not helping yourself. Having unambitious negative or unstable friends can drag you down in so many different ways. But interestingly enough, there are actually problems caused by ambivalent friendship. Friends that you have both positive feelings and negative feelings about, which makes up about half of your friends. If someone in your life is negative or ambivalent, you might need to have some tough conversations with yourself and find ways to reduce the time that you spend with them. It may sound selfish, especially if they're family or friends you've known for a long time, but it'll be the best thing you'll ever do for yourself. Also, be more selective with your friends. Do they encourage you? Do they challenge themselves to grow? Do you feel you can be open and honest with them about any issues you're facing? When I was told that I was a bum and I started my new career, my new focus, and I was in the sales business and I was spending all of this time driving back and forth and studying and becoming a sales guy and becoming a sales manager and so on, the people that I was hanging around with had that same motivation. And you become the people that you hang around with. And as I advanced up the line, I was getting to know a better grade of person each time I advanced, until finally I was living in the house with Bob Anderson, who invited me to live with Bob and his wife in Florida, and that was the ultimate. I mean, that was learning the most. That's how it goes. You've got to be selective of the people that you hang around with, because as Jim Rohn tells us, you are a collaboration of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. And nothing impacts your happiness and health more than your relationships. 7th point, keep more things to yourself. Young people fall into the trap of telling other people, oh, I did this, I did that, I'm great about this. You know, and it looks cool. And especially people post on the internet, it looks like they're killing it. And like I said, in fact, most of the time, it's mostly embellishment. But you really have no idea what their lives are really like. You know, you learn that people exaggerate their successes, especially on social media. Not everybody, but a lot more than you think. If anything, it's better to make an error in the opposite way. Because people who are most successful usually aren't wasting their time telling everybody what they're doing, because they're actually doing it. Best advice, do more things for yourself and keep more announcements to yourself. After all, would you still do something cool if no one knew? If not, then maybe you're doing it for the wrong reason. A great benefit of this is you'll stop doing things just for approval, getting praise, or you're trying to prove something to somebody. And that will help you find more fulfillment and happiness for your life. Number 8, a big point. You are the greatest investment. Invest in yourself whenever possible. It'll pay the best dividends. The truth is, you got to continually learn new things, because you can't possibly know everything yourself. If you haven't read hundreds of books, you're functionally illiterate, and you'll be incompetent because your personal experiences alone aren't broad enough to sustain you. That's a quote from a gentleman named General Jim Mattis. He's been in the news with Trump in the past year or so. But investing in yourself isn't only about gaining more information, reading books, taking courses, and going to workshops. It's also about experiencing new things, taking a long trip, taking an unpaid internship to learn from the best. When I was living with Bob Anderson, I was being paid $300 a week. When I was out in the field marketing, selling the product, I was making close to $1,000 a week. So I took a major pay cut to learn from the master. Was it worth it? Oh, you bet it was. You bet it was. Okay? Not only that, but he challenged me to do things that I never thought I could do, things that I didn't think were possible, by putting it out there, by painting, sharing the vision, by selling the dream, and by inspiring me to go ahead and do it, and not accepting mediocrity. You've got to invest in yourself. It's the best investment that you're ever going to make. Number 9, willpower doesn't work. You know, and here's a quote from Dr. Benjamin Hardy. It's easy to predict where people are going in their lives. Your environment reveals you both to yourself and to other people. Perhaps the clearest indicator of your internal identity is your external environment. If you're comfortable in certain environments, what does that say about you? What motivates somebody? What motivates you is you get sick and tired of being sick and tired and say, I can't put up with this anymore. I'm not going to take this. And then you make a move forward. Look at the environments around you, your home, your routines, your nutrition, your lifestyle, even where you're living, what city you live in. All of these things reflect your current level, but they also keep you at your current level. There's a ceiling to all of them. And once you reach it, that's it. You cannot out willpower your environment. If you want to change, you have to change your environment first. That way you can adapt, improve, and become a different person because of it. What's one of the things that I preach from this pulpit more than anything else? And that's to give yourself quiet thinking time. 99% of the people out there don't do that. They don't start at the beginning of the day and give themselves a focus and reflect and visualize and make a sort of a mental game plan for what they're going to do and get themselves excited about reaching their goals by visualizing, by feeling, smelling, tasting them, touching them. They don't do that. Why do I say that's important? Because your environment is critical, and that's the easiest way to change your environment is by giving yourself 5, 10, 15 minutes at the beginning of your day to get your mental faculties in order. That's the most important environment. What's between your ears? Often the problem isn't that you're not trying hard. The problem is that your environment's holding you back. Changing your environment, you change your life. And number 10, you don't get your youth back. Okay? Here's an important thing to remember. Look, people say age is just a number. You're only as old as you feel. But let's be real. Eventually you hit a point where you're not young anymore. You know, it's unbelievable to me that I know so much, as an example, about basketball, but my body won't let me do the things that I'd love to be doing. So you become a coach. Why? Because you have that competitive fierceness inside you and you work with people. I work with Eli on basketball. You know, you just wish your body could continue to do the things that it did when you were young. But your youth doesn't last forever. So what are you going to do with it? You can't squander your youth, because some people make it seem like your 20s and they don't really matter. The odds are it does matter, and it matters a lot. The unfortunate truth is few people are willing to squeeze the most out of the youth to actually get what they want in life. They succumb to temptation. Everybody else is doing it. Understand that it's divided up 95% and 5%, unsuccessful versus successful. And if you're watching this video, you're somebody that's trying to be one of those 5%ers. If that's really the case, pay attention to these things that we talked about. Don't wait to finally get your life going. Take the first few steps now and stop thinking about it. Because once you do, you'll learn a ton of things that you couldn't have possibly learned otherwise. And those things are going to help you later on. You're going to have successes, you're going to have failures. But one thing you know for sure, I know I didn't want to look back on my youth and say, I wish I had used it for something great. Stop being a wisher, wanter, hoper, and thinker. Become a doer. Change your life. Make that commitment. Don't let the prime of your life slip away, because there's no time to waste. And because we're never going to let a meeting end on a philosophical note, let's all get out there and charge! I'm Eli's dad.